Okay, so this content example is surprisingly really similar to the actual assignment, so pay quite close attention here. One nice thing here with this hint is that centimeters cubed and milliliters are the same thing, okay, so we can make that a little bit easier for us. And they want to have, it must hold 400 milliliters of juice, so that's the same thing as it must have centimeters cubed of juice. That's going to be the volume. So the volume is going to be 400 centimeters cubed, all right? And what do we know about a cylinder? We know that we can find the radius and we can have the height, and those are the only two measurements we need. So the volume we also know is a formula, volume equals pi r squared h. That's the formula for volume of a cylinder. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep changing the radius as they recommend. We're going to say, what if the radius is 1? What if the radius is 2? What if it was 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7? Well, if we change the radius, the height's got to change as well. So as I get a bigger radius, the height's going to have to be smaller to keep the same volume, all right? So it's going to be a tall, skinny cylinder, it's going to be a short, fat cylinder. And so we're going to get the height in terms of volume. And I'm going to do it a little bit easier over here than what they did because it'll help us out. So we know the volume is 400, and I'm going to forget units for a minute, is pi r squared h. So I want h on its own. So I say, what's by the h? All this pi r squared, what's it doing? It's multiplying the h, so I do the opposite to both sides to get h on its own. I'm going to divide both sides by pi r squared. I'm going to say h is equal to, because this is going to divide out, 400 over pi r squared. And that's what they did over here as well. They just did it piece by piece by piece, all right? So I'm going to use that in my spreadsheet in a minute to help me find out the height depending on the radius, because I don't want to do the calculation every time. I'm going to make Excel do it for me. The other thing we need to know is the surface area. Now, if you don't remember the surface area for a cylinder, when we take a cylinder, it's like a piece of paper that's curled up, right? Like you take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and you curl it around, and you've got this rectangular piece of paper, but when you curl it, it becomes a cylinder without a top and a bottom. So this is still the height, and this length from here to here is, if you cut this thing open and spread it out, then it's going to be 2 pi r. It's the circumference of the circle. Now, the distance around there is the same thing as the length of the sheet of paper. So for this one, if you like, the area of that piece of paper is length times width, or 2 pi r times h. Okay? And that's what they've done up in the here. Surface area is going to be 2 pi r h. And where did they get this 2 pi r squared? Well, they're going to say that there's a top and a bottom. So 2 times pi times r squared will give you two circles, a top circle and a bottom circle. Careful, in the assignment, there's only a bottom circle because I think they made the top circle out of a different material. So you just have pi r squared h. But then all we need to do is, we've got then the surface area is this big long formula. Surface area is going to be 2 times pi r squared plus 2 pi r h, and we're going to use that in our calculation. So let's grab an Excel spreadsheet. Just there. Okay, so I've got the stuff at the top here already. So the radius, we're going to range from 1 to 2. Now we could do decimals as well, but we're going to make it easier and not do decimals. So I'm just going to highlight that, and I don't know, we'll go down to 14. Doesn't matter because I'm not going to do all the calculations myself. The height, what did we work that out to be? Move this over. We said the height is equal to, so I'm going to have equals, my equal sign, 400 divided by pi r squared. So I'm going to use brackets just to make sure it all stays in the bottom. I don't know if I have to, but I'm going to. Pi, we can use pi for pi, times, what's the radius? Click on the radius, that's whatever happens to be in cell A2 right now. And we need squared, so we're going to do a little hat, 2, enter. Close the bracket because that's the bottom of the bottom. And we hit enter. And I think it's doing that because whoops, what's wrong here? 400 divided by pi times radius squared. That looks good. Whoops, I forgot. When you do pi, you don't just type in pi. You put in pi with an open and closed bracket. It's supposed to be a function, even though it's just a number. So you just have to put the brackets there. So equals 400 divided by bracket pi, and then open and close the brackets, and that'll give you the 3.1415926. So you can just type in 3.14, but this is nicer because it gives you to 16 decimal places, times whatever's in there squared. So that gives us the first one, and if I drag it down, it'll give me all the other ones as well, which is kind of cool. Okay, so as the radius gets bigger, the height has to get smaller, of course. The surface area, well, we worked that formula out to say equals, so we're going to do the whole thing, 2 times pi, so again it's going to be pi, and then set of brackets, times whatever the radius is, hat 2 for squared, plus 2 times pi, open close brackets, times the radius, so click on whatever's in the radius, times the height. Click on whatever the answer is for the height. So it's doing this huge long thing, but it'll do it for us. And we'll see that that's the exact same number that they gave us in the example, so it makes it a little easier for us to know that we got the right thing. And I can zoom down, and it gives me the surface area is changing all the way through. And finally, the volume we said was, let me scroll up a bit, volume is pi r squared h. So we'll pull up our Excel again. We said volume, and it should be 400 every time, and that's a nice way to keep it in there because I can check I got the right thing. So volume should equal pi times r squared, so hat 2, times whatever the height is. Enter 400, and as I scroll this down, it's going to be perfectly 400 every time. So now I'm just looking for what's the minimum surface area to make this thing, so I have to use less material. So 800, 400, 300, 300. Oh, it looks like in here, because it's getting smaller and smaller, now it looks like after this one it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it looks like that's going to be my minimum. So if that's my minimum, when the radius is 4 and the height 7.957, in fact, I think they give in your answers that they said there's almost a rule that if you double the radius, that'll give you the height that makes this thing a minimum, because that's 7.9 is pretty much 8, right? It's not going to be the same in your assignment because, well, that's one of the assignment questions. What's the difference between this one and what your assignment's going to be? It's the top of the ice cream container is different this time, I think. So watch out for that.